All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Reseller Information Network. We are so glad you're here hanging out with us and spending your time with this fine group of gentlemen we have beside us. Man, we are it really seems kind of insane, but we're on episode number 17 already. 17, that's 1 7. That seems kind of crazy to me. And man, we've grown. We've grown by people that are watching, people that are doing comments. We appreciate each and every one of you that are here tuning in and looking to maybe gain some knowledge, maybe help share some knowledge. That's one thing great about our show is we do encourage people to ask questions, and no question, no matter how silly you may think it is or people may make fun of you, this isn't Facebook groups, guys. This is Reseller Information Network. We're going to take every question. We're not going to beat you up about it. We're going to try to explain it the best we can, and if we can't help you, we'll find someone who can. So I want to go ahead and introduce the guys that are here with us today. We'll start out with now that he's up here with his mouth full. We'll go ahead and get started with our resident MC Blood Sweat Cell.
What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. It is cold here in wherever I am, South Carolina, and I'm very excited to hear some stuff from our guest today. And back to you guys.
So next up, we've got today we're on listing and loafing. We normally record on Tuesdays, and my man was having a little bit of struggle with the phone, but he's back here on the cam, back in the podcast seat. Is our guy over the years.
What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody is doing well. As always, we appreciate all the love and all the support. Just a reminder, keep those questions and comments coming because it definitely does help us as far as providing the information that you guys are currently searching answers for, and we'll do our best to continue to answer those questions. Nothing much new, just excited for another episode, obviously. I will give everybody a brief update on the 7-Eleven point total. I feel like that's probably the only thing that's going perfect these days, but you take what you can get, and 7-Eleven is treating me well. If I can only find all these icons get moved around. All right. Wow. I feel like it's been a while since I've updated you guys. We are now currently sitting at 103,384 7-Eleven points.
Wow.
So we're getting close. Next goal is 150,000. So hopefully we can get there soon. They've definitely got some good bargains going on right now. I will tell you this though. I've been thinking about starting a backup 7-Eleven account, right? Because sometimes they got these deals that you can only use once a day. So right now they got 2 donuts for $1 or two donuts for $2, I think. And so in the morning time I went and got some donuts, and then I was stopping by there after in the afternoon after the post office the other day. And I was checking out, and I was like, I thought the donuts were $2 for $2. And she was like, oh, but you used it already this morning. I was like, oh, man, I got to get a burner account for these double dipping days on the deals at 7-Eleven. But no, that's about it around these neck of woods. Just excited to answer some questions. Hopefully get you guys some good information today. As always, thank you guys very much for joining us.
Next up, we've got you guys already know. I mean, my man was on the grind today on listing and loafing. I can tell you, throwing up some serious numbers listing wise today. So come and hang out with us on Tuesdays at 9 Eastern, 9:30 Eastern to around 2:00 every Tuesday. We're in there working, hanging out. You got questions? Pop in. You want to come and hang out and see just the other side of reselling, not the glamorous side, but the grind. You can come and hang out with us on Tuesdays. Cernoch.
Yo, what's up? That was 25 listings that I did. So, but I had all the pictures and all that. I had it set up well so I could just start banging them out. That's how I like to do it. So if you want to come see us work, come visit us on Tuesdays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time right here. I'm really excited about our guest Scott we're gonna have today. Right up my alley, you know what I'm saying? Vintage clothing, but I'll let him get to that So I'm really excited today. And yeah, this is the 17th episode. This is awesome. So, and I appreciate everyone that, leaves us comments and, ask good questions in there. Like I said, this show's to help you guys. So hopefully you can find some knowledge and some entertainment at the same time. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to talking to Scott today.
There you go. And last and definitely not least, we do want to thank Scott for coming and hanging out with us today. I actually had the opportunity to be on another show recently, probably about a month ago, and I got to know Scott, not personally, but through the interweb. We got to hang out for a little while, and come to find out we had a lot of things in common. There's some things that we both enjoy to pick, vintage clothing being one. But also, like, he's hit some major scores, and I've had times throughout what I've done with reselling where I've hit some major scores, and we're going to be talking about that and so much more today. But we're just going to let Scott give just a brief intro for himself.
I'm Scott, also known as TheChaChingKing on Instagram and YouTube, and really, I'm just here for the money. This pays, right?
Oh yeah. You didn't get the contract in the mail?
I must have. I just missed it.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. Eric is the first one that I saw on a show, and he started talking vintage hats. And it wasn't that long ago on Instagram, somebody was telling me that you can still buy that hat, so the vintage doesn't make any difference. And I was like, yeah, if it says K products on it, I'm telling you, it makes a difference. And I was watching Eric, and I was like, oh, this guy gets it. Like, that. So I'm excited. We do, my wife and I do eBay. I've been on eBay since 99. I retired in 18 from my job as a school superintendent. Had a great career, but man, so much freedom with this and getting to learn, all of the stuff that, it's never ending. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, man, we're so happy to have you with us today. I did want to read a couple comments before we got too deep into what we had going on here. I want to tell you, the first up is doing it wrong. And they said, the more I learn about reselling, the fewer YouTubers I watch. I'm absolutely hooked on your brand. Y'all are probably going to need a part 3 and maybe part 4. He's talking about this sourcing video we put out last week. Good knowledge from good people. And Grams and Pop Vintage, great show as always, gentlemen. Looking forward to next week. Doing it wrong also had left a comment. I bird dog for a guy who resells high quality Broyhill Brazilla, which I had to look up because I weren't exactly sure what that was. I knew Broyhill was furniture, but it's high end, crazy looking mid-century modern furniture. He's in Hampton Roads, which isn't too far from me. On one find, I made $200. And he easily made $4,000. We have a long-lasting business relationship. Pinjo Picker says, the best crew out there. Keep on keeping on, y'all. And he's got a question that we'll get to later on about daily schedule. But we do thank all you guys for dropping your comments. We will be trying to get through some of those and read them as we go along. But we, as always, thank you guys for your support. Today, our show, we're going to do things a little different. Instead of going specifically in each category, we're gonna talk a little bit with Scott and kind of pick his brain and maybe ask some questions to him. So we're gonna jump into this section of the 101 and kind of pick. So we're gonna put you in the hot seat here, Scott.
Let's do it.
The TheChaChingKing. I will tell you, man, that's probably one of the best YouTube names for reselling, because we all like when we get in here on Tuesdays, we're like waiting for the cha-chings. We're like, okay,
Right.
We actually have our own little mantra where we chant eBay sales, just to try to get something. Like, we know they're listening. We know they're listening out there. So TheChaChingKing, we greatly enjoy that. I wanted to start out with, we typically give a 101, like a basics of reselling. So, Scott, for you, like, what would be probably one of your best tips to people that are just starting out, as far as like, this is entry level, start here kind of situation? I know you do a lot of videos like that. So.
I do, yeah. The first thing I would tell somebody, if they're like, they see a show like this and they're like, man, that's interesting, I think I would like that. You need to start with things that you already love and that you're already knowledgeable about, because that will make you will make far fewer mistakes when you're outsourcing. Like if you love, I actually started my eBay selling lumber. I have a lumber mill, and I know lumber better than the average Joe, but I didn't make a lot of mistakes buying woodworking tools and things like that because I understood what I was looking at. So I would tell anybody when you first get started, whether you're an expert at backgammon or tools or knitting, there will be things in each one of those areas that have a market. And the more you know going in, the easier the transition will be. You can add other things in, but if you start with stuff you know, it's a lot easier.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Cernoch, do you have any thoughts on like things with Scott, like as far as like obviously what he just said opened up a whole realm of possibilities that you have to know.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like I think it's also just like, starting out with what you love, and then deep dive, like research. Go ahead and do the research. Kind of like he was talking about hats or trucker hats or something like that. Go on and see like sometimes in a category, what I like doing is I'll just go to solds. I'll just type in something very generic, and I'll go to solds and hit high to low. And I just look. Oh, okay. And if something's like interesting, I'm like, well, why did that sell for $400? Well, I'll go in there and be like, okay, this is why. And just kind of figuring out, like learning more and more, even in your own ecosystem that, like, I like vintage too. But it's just keeping up with the styles too, just keeping up with what's in demand and what people are looking for, so, definitely, doing your more research, even when you are knowledgeable in a category, just going in even deeper,
Tim, what do you got to bring to the table on that?
I mean, just to kind of double down on the importance of being, trying to source and sell things that you're passionate about, and the research, that these two gentlemen brought up prior to me speaking right now is definitely super important, because there's a lot of work, a lot of hard work and time and stuff like that goes into reselling. A lot of people, think that it's easy and they think that they can do it, and then they find out quickly that it's not as easy as it may look on TV. So I think that if you're doing something that you're passionate about and you're doing something that you're knowledgeable on, it takes a little bit of that off of you. It makes things a little bit easier. And in this line of work, sometimes easy is good. Nothing's ever going to be easy. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Nothing's ever going to be easy, but I do think that it's important to try your best to kind of lighten your workload. And then, as you progress, it's easier for you to pivot that way, because you kind of have your thing that's your thing, right? Like for me, like I can walk in and do glass, no problem. Like glass, ceramic, porcelain, pottery, all that stuff. Like that's what that's what I specialize in. But, we talk about this time and time again about adjusting and adapting, because if I walk in somewhere, there may not be that. So eventually you kind of have to pivot and start to learn new things. But it's always important to have like your one thing in your bag, because that's going to be your go-to, that, you know what I'm saying? Like when things are a little bit rough in one category, you have to be able to have some stuff that you're working with in other categories. And I think that, I'm recognizing a lot of that right now, just because more and more people have gotten into the vintage decor category when it comes to glass and stuff like that, and pottery and things like that. So it's made it a lot more difficult for me to source like I used to. Like I used to, it was no problem. I'd be the guy, I'd walk in, I'd buy all the glass, and I'd leave. But now, more and more people are getting hip to that. So you gotta have to pivot and learn more things. But to double down also on what Cernoch was saying about research, I mean, the more you know, the more you're going to be able to buy, and the more you're going to be able to sell. And when I say buy, like buy confidently, instead of just, because every once in a while it's good to buy something, just to kind of test the waters and that's like your research right there, buying that one item. But like you got to deep dive into everything. I mean, you see, I have bookshelves of books, you know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to do stuff on the internet, but sometimes you got to go back to the old school. Like that's where the real information is, especially when you're dealing with antiques. So Definitely want to double down on what Scott and Cernoch said about, the passion and obviously the research. Don't, you put in the work. Don't give up on an item either, because you might lose out on some money doing that. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you just might have to put something aside until you finally figure out what it is and what its true value is. So that would be some of my 101 advice for today.
Leroy, I know your ears just shot right up when he said woodworking tools. Like there was something there. He was like, "What?" Like I saw him kind of sit up a little bit to see. Leroy, what do you got in building on that?
Well, first I got to tell you guys, Cernoch and I am not in the same plot. We're not in the same place. It looks like we're in the same place. We're not in the same place.
They're across the room. I can see him in the
Looks
mirror.
like I'm like, hold on, is he in my house?
It looked like he's leaning over, holding hands.
But no, like those guys said, a category that you're used to, and Scott was dead on when he said, that you used to do an old hobby or something that a hobby that your kids do. It doesn't have to be you. It could be something that your kids do. But I've learned if it's not a category that I like, but I got it for free, then I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna get a little excited into it because I got it for nothing. So sometimes the stuff that you guys can get for free can spark your attention to something that you're not normally going to sell. So again, like we always tell you, don't be afraid to ask people around you what they have for free. I was talking to a lady yesterday, and she has 2 young kids, and they're always wearing fancy clothes. And I was like, "What do you do with your kids and little Nikes and all that?" "Oh, I give those to Goodwill." I said, "Not no more, you know." I said, "Not no more, you don't."
Did you
No.
tell him your middle name was Will? Is that what you said?
But all kidding aside, just of course, go into a niche that you don't have to have a niche either. That's the other thing, is you don't have to have a niche. I have a niche because that's just what I'm really, really passionate about. But you can do different things, but be careful, because doing different things could cost you in the long run.
So yeah, one or the other. For me and listening to this, it is the same thing that I felt when I first started is, sometimes you do go with what you feel comfortable in. And sometimes those things aren't maybe as profitable as you hope. When I first got started, I was like, because I'd watched so much YouTube, I was oftentimes just drawn to these same questions, right? Every person that you watch on YouTube asks this question: "Do you got any video games?" Like at every sale, right? And I was like, dude, how many video games do you think there are in the world? And you guys ever go to sales and you get this comment? You're the 5th person to ask me that, and I've only been open for 10 minutes, So think about that as well. Like there are other things, other categories, and there's people, like we met a lady last year when we were out picking, that all she does is Barbie dolls. That's all she does. Barbie. And I can tell you this, her numbers are impressive for only doing Barbie dolls. Like she is probably in that top tier of eBay resellers that I know, in that she doesn't have social media following at all. So I'll just tell you, like, you can do it. On the other side of it, I'm not that guy. I don't really specialize in anything. There's a lot of things I like. Hats are one of those things. I can tell you the 2 gentlemen at the top of the screen very much so spurned that in me, like awoke that thing in me. And so now that I know, it's definitely one of those things that I know to look for. And I'm not afraid to buy with confidence. Like I know, like if I roll up to a sale and they've got 25 hats, how much for all of them? I don't even have to look. If I see one in there, hey, that's $25 right there. Let's go. Like let's pull the trigger and move on. So that's something that you can get confidence when you start to learn, and it does help to have a leg up. So we want to jump into real quick about our next category. Usually everybody's dancing when that happens in the background. You guys don't ever see it. Today we're a little mild mannered, but we're gonna let Scott go for it first, and no one steals his. Scott, what do you see that's selling for you out there right now?
That's selling for me, a lot of it just has to do with what I bought the last time.
Yeah.
I get a lot of private picks where people call and say, "Hey, are you interested in this?" And I did make a video out of it. I got a call from somebody that knew somebody that told them what I do, and she had 16 tubs of Anna Lee dolls. And I'm like, I don't know anything about Anna Lee dolls, but she said, well, they go back to the 60s, the one she had. And I said, then I'm interested. So I initially thought they weren't worth anything. I gave her $200 and I found out right away there was like 600 dolls. And I called her back and I said, I owe you more money. I missed big time. And so for me, Anna Lee dolls, like we're almost done, but I've sold 600 of them since November.
Jeez.
So and we made, even after I went back and paid her way more than what I originally thought, I think we're going to come in close to $6,000 on them.
Wow. Anna Lee dolls. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know anything about Anna Lee dolls. So as far as trending goes, I don't get caught up too much in what other people say is trending. Y'all know this because you're on YouTube. If you just watch YouTube videos, the next thing you know, you're out buying like Chicos, and people quit buying it 3 years ago, but the videos are still out there. And so if it's not current, you're not really looking at what's trending today anyway. So I don't get too caught up in, I guess I'm more opportunistic than I am trendy.
There you go. There you go. Leroy, what you got?
What is trending?
Other than veggie platters, we know that that's what's trending at your house.
Yeah, not chicken, not chicken. I'll tell you that much. But guys, I'm still selling wrapping paper.
You sold some today.
I sold 2 rolls today. Didn't sell the dinosaur wrapping paper yet, but I sold the one I was with you, Eric, the comic ones.
Yeah.
Those. So guys, when you see this wrapping paper for 50 cents at an estate sale, just grab it. If you want to, but it's an easy. I found tubes somewhere. It's throw the tubes in, and I'm making $8 to $12 on a roll of wrapping paper. Again, I hate to sound like a broken record, guys, but don't walk by it because nobody's gonna pick it up hardly.
There you go. Cernoch, what you working with?
You're muted, Cernoch.
Leroy,
Y'all are in the same house. You are in the same house.
The dogs were my dog was starting to bark because the kids are getting out of school, and so I was like, hey. Man, I'll tell you what, that's still selling for me. And the thing is, they keep selling. I keep finding as well. Boots. I tell you, man, it's crazy. I've been selling boots like crazy for the last week. Okay, probably 10 pairs of boots I've already sold this past week. At my honey hole, I found like 7 more pairs. So it's like, so I've got to get those like shined up and listed and everything like that. But it's nonstop, and I feel like I'm getting more gradually to like only sneaker. Like with sneakers, I love selling sneakers and stuff like that. But like now that I'm picking up like sneakers and boots, I only want to pick up sneakers that are like really easy to list, not hardcore cleaning and all this stuff. I want them to be good because, man, I tell you what, with those boots, the way I do it, with the leather lotion, there's a little bit of shine. I can elevate them quicker for more money, So that's what I've been really concentrating on, and it just keeps selling. It just keeps selling. So it's just like it's like an omen almost, where it's just like, all right, well, I keep selling and keep finding. Just keep down that course right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't seen Cernoch clean boots, like it is like elevation of value for sure, because you take what looks like somebody dug out of the barn and now it's in the showroom ready. Like that's
yeah.
So we're gonna check up on that. Let's check with Tim. What's going on for you, Tim?
Well, I'm gonna give you a double answer here. I'm trying to find my space here. Like this light at this time of day, I don't have my curtains. I don't have my
I see a little
blinds up.
glare just hitting you at certain points.
Yeah, I feel like an angel. But no, I'll give you two things really fast. So I'm gonna give you one thing that I'm gonna give you three things. Two things in one. Okay, so trending wise, all right. Easter is around the corner. Okay. A lot of people sleep on Easter. They think Halloween, they think Christmas, they think Thanksgiving. Do not sleep on Easter. There are tons of people out there, especially in the kitschy world, that love to decorate for Easter. I have started to see something trending in recent weeks. I've sold at least one or two of these. So I had these plates for the longest time, and I always had them listed on Etsy, and the pricing was was kind of old market value. So I went back and I readjusted some of the pricing, and some were higher, some were lower, and then I retook the pictures and then I cross posted them from Etsy to eBay and Mercari, and I've been selling one or two plates a week. So these are, and this is something you guys want to keep your eye out for: Wedgwood, Beatrix Potter, Peter Rabbit, Christmas and birthday plates. Okay, even though these are Christmas plates and birthday plates, they're coming up in people's search because of Peter Rabbit. Okay, so it is something to keep your eye out on for. These plates can sell from anywhere between $20 and $75 a plate, depending on the year and if you have the box or not. So I've been selling these plates, one to two of those plates, over the last three to 4 weeks since I started reposting, fixing the listings and cross-listing them. Cha-ching, there goes, somebody got a cha-ching. And then cross-listing those to other platforms. And then the other thing is I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a thing as far as trending outside of Easter stuff. And what Easter can be so wide range, it's an amazing category. So just kind of envision everything that you've ever imagined seeing that's relatable to Easter. And if you see it now, grab it and list it now, because Easter is going to be coming, before you know it. It's always, you guys know, I like to tell you guys to get your stuff up and out there early, be the first people on the market, catch those early bird shoppers. The second thing is going to be, obviously, I got to give y'all a little thing sports related, as much as I possibly can. The playoffs for NFL are right now. Okay. So obviously, NFL team stuff will sell all the time, okay? But, now we're down to the last 4 teams. It's very difficult because this is like a 1 week span that these teams are in and out. But anything that's Super Bowl related too. So generally this time of the year, I like to list Super Bowl programs, old Super Bowl programs, to get those up as we get closer towards the Super Bowl. Because the Super Bowl is in 1, 2, 3 weeks away, I believe, right now. So definitely Super Bowl memorabilia, and then obviously if you have any like Super Bowl hats, stuff like that. And then after this Sunday, you'll know exactly who's playing in the Super Bowl. So that'll kind of give you an opportunity, obviously, to kind of dig through your pile, see if you have anything of those two teams, and make sure those are listed. And if you're into sports cards, I know that we probably don't have a lot of people here that are into sports cards, but I will tell you what I did the last 2 Super Bowls is I made sure that I had either drafted or already listed all of the cards that I had from those players in that Super Bowl. And I lie to you not, the value will flip within a quarter of the game. If a guy catches a touchdown, people who are snipers and people who are also flippers will literally jump on eBay right then and there, and they will buy all those guys' cards. And then, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's a crazy thing to watch. And I remember doing it the first time and being like, this is insane, because you would never get anywhere close to that value of those cards at any other time than you would right then and there when that player did good. So that's just kind of something, just a little tip if there's anybody that's watching that does sports cards. But yeah, that's some trending stuff from me, Tim, over the years.
Hey, sir. I know me and Cernoch have this conversation today. We're hoping Kansas City makes it to the Super Bowl because we got some jackets we want to sell. They've been hanging out in our store. We don't understand why. Like I've got this nice Kansas City jacket. It's big boy size. Like what's going on, Kansas City? Like
I know,
where
right?
you people at? Where you people at? Like we've got Cernoch's got this nice Letterman looking
It's
jacket.
a Letterman jacket, yeah.
Yeah, like Kansas City. Come on, support your people. What's going on? Like for me, I always say for me, it's usually trending is whatever I'm listing. But Tim does bring up some great points. I went digging through my card box the other week for some pretty cards because they're kind of in short print but high demand. So I was out looking for a little San Fran action. There's other things for me. I've actually been finding a lot of electronics lately. So as you know, it's not Kevin Costner, but if you list it, they will buy it. Like that's just how it works. So if you whatever you're listed typically will bump the trend. And we've talked about this too. We don't have concrete evidence as far as I've analyzed all the statistics, but this is kind of our working theory. If you list in a category you haven't listed in a while, all those old listings get a little bump. I don't know why that happens, but it happens. Like if I hadn't listed hats in a couple months and I get a batch of hats and I start listing hats, I start selling old hats. I don't know how it works, but hey, it pans out. So that's where we're at with that. Next up, we are going to deep dive. Hey, so this deep dive, you already know when we have a guest, we kind of put them on the hot seat and we deep dive into what they got going on. It's business wise. Now, I can tell you, like, I've went back and watched some of Scott's videos and kind of really dug into, and honestly, we can't help it because we love the vintage clothing. So, and we've got to find out two things. One, Scott does storage units, and I'm sure he's going to talk. He does. I know that's not the only way he sources. He's like the rest of us. He sources any way and every way he can. But storage units has become a big part of his business recently. So I'm going to let him tell you more about his mega find and storage units.
Yeah, storage units are definitely not the only thing we do. In fact, my favorite way to pick are private picks. People that'll call me and let me in there before you guys have had a chance to go through the place. I do better if you guys hadn't been in there.
Right.
But we, my wife and I, we love storage units. Like there's a reason they're popular because they're a ton of fun to do. They're a ton of work, but they're a ton of fun. We feel like we do a really good job at looking at the pictures and being able to pick out a good unit. And then you've got cushion built in when you're buying them. So the one I'm sure Eric is talking about, there were 8 pictures, and the first thing you noticed in the very first picture is it's huge. It's like 10 by 30, and there's boxes stacked 7 feet tall as far back as you can see. But right in the front, there was a health knit bag, and you had to zoom in, but I recognized the label. And I could tell those are hoodies. It's a banana colored hoodie, but it was still in the package. And so everything is covered with 3 inches of dust. And so I start looking at the boxes, and some of them say like 172. Another box says 164, and one says 149. And you can see more of the yellow in some of the torn boxes and things like that. And everything is still in plastic. And so Melody and I decided that this looks like an old store, that somebody put it in a storage locker. And so I think our max bid on it, I put in $2,500 because it doesn't take a lot of boxes of vintage, new, old stock sweats to make some money. And but I also called the place that was having the auction. You know, you can do that. They can't give you all the information, but they can give you some. And she said that locker hadn't been opened the last time on, as far as they could tell, was like 2001. The last time it had been opened. And so, you know, I'm all in. I end up getting it for $721. And when we get up there, it's an old store that had been, it was two different things that the guy had going. He had obviously bought out a place that probably made school shirts and things like that. And so I have a lot of smalls and I have a lot of mediums. I also have a whole lot of any color that didn't sell, which fortunately for me, one of the colors evidently that wasn't selling was gray. I have a ton of heather gray, which is perfect for right now. And he also bought out an Apple repair store. And so I have this mounted. I probably have 100 IBM Model M keyboards, like 100 of them. And we sold all the Model F right away. My kid is builds computers, things like that. So he gets all the tech stuff. But I originally guessed that we probably had 3,000 to 4,000 new sweats, and I think it's probably closer to 6,000. There will be some loss because the white didn't fare well, not just because it was stored, but the white wasn't in its own plastic bags. It's all new, but the white was exposed, so it didn't fare as well. But if you got 2 seconds, I'll show the people.
Yeah.
Just let me grab the.
We would love to see that. I know these guys are chomping at the bit to like dig in on this thing.
Yeah. Well, there's just a couple in my office. So the first thing we saw was bags of these.
Yeah.
There you go.
And
Yeesh.
all new. I probably have 200 of those. And of those, I have all the sizes. But we also, you could see this poking out of the. And so there's 3 of them in here. This is just a gray sweatshirt. That's a medium, but I have all the sizes in the gray. They are not the reverse weave. Can you imagine if there'd just been a couple of boxes of Champion reverse weave?
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
There wasn't. There was probably, I probably have 200 orange t-shirts that are Hanes from the 1970s that have never been out of the box. There was probably another 200 of the I'm drawing a blank on the brand. Sneakers is the brand name, and they were a white ringer with a yellow collar. I probably had 100 or 200 of those, and then I've got another maybe 100 of them with the blue collars. But like a starter gray t-shirt, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. So that's a big score. It's probably bigger than we wanted. So we're going to cherry pick it, and I'm going to have my own merch put on it. And somebody's like, are you going to lower the value? And I'm like, man, I appreciate your confidence, but I'm still going to do it. And then we're going to hook up other people. Like, we've already made all of our money back, and we're going to get it to other people, let them resell it. I won't give them the same things that I'm reselling, but we'll share the wealth on that one.
Nice.
I know you guys have questions. I mean, I know for me, like one of the ones right out of the bat that I just wanted to ask. So when you talk HealthNet, like a lot of people may not know what that is. Like now that's something else, right? Like that's the different.
Well, HealthNet's a great brand. Like if you do vintage sweats, HealthNet is a great band.
Right.
HealthNet, Toltex, and I'm sure y'all know how to look them up. But I know that there's people that don't. And let's see, like this is one of the old HealthNet tags.
Yeah.
And I can't tell on there. One of the things that you look for people that are trying to identify if it's actually vintage is if it's if the polyester is branded like Codell polyester or something like that. Mm-hmm. And also this one doesn't have the RN number on it, but you can look up the RN numbers. That's how we identified I got a ton of Toltecs, and but this is that old, you can't tell, but this is the old sweats that's super soft on the inside, but it's,
you can feel it.
And this stuff is slicker than butter on a bald monkey.
Love that.
And I have the market cornered, but in a lot of the boxes, there were actually receipts. that showed
my gosh.
when it rolled out of the mills, and
Wow. Yeah.
tons of fun. The only issue for us is we want it. I want to move it quickly so I can buy another locker.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I need to. I'm gonna
Have
sell
you?
it to somebody cheap.
Here's the question: have you tried to go into some of the vintage groups? Because people are always looking for blanks in
Oh,
those vintage groups.
I don't have trouble finding buyers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for me, it's like, who do I want coming out to my house?
True.
I don't care how much they pay me at this point. You know, I mean, we're gonna even if they gave me $2 a piece, I would make like $6 grand, $8 grand, $10 grand, something like that. Just ridiculous money. And plus we're having fun with it. Like I said, I'm gonna have the TheChaChingKing logo that I had made put on all of these, and I'm sure y'all saw the PE shorts that I got.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna have cha-ching put across the button on those. Just
That's hilarious.
It's just
That's
yeah,
awesome.
exactly. It's hilarious. The place that does my silk screening for me, he said that if I'll get 100 pieces done, he'll charge me $350. So I can get 100 pieces of merch to give away that I only paid like $350 a piece for.
Yeah.
So, that's the plan
awesome.
anyway.
That's awesome.
No t-shirts, or I mean, you said t-shirts. I was gonna say like, you didn't find any Screen Star stuff, did you?
No, I got Hanes on
Mhm.
t-shirts. I got Hanes, and I got sneakers, and I got Starter.
Yeah.
But the problem with the t-shirts, all of it was small. Like I couldn't wear any of it, even if I got a run at it.
Yeah.
You know, it just it wasn't big boy stuff for me.
Yeah.
But it's all it's all old. It's all 84 or earlier. I haven't found any of the sweats that were made after that. But I got a whole bunch of I don't know how to describe them. It's the zip up sweats with the matching sweatpants with the stripes. It looks like a Russian 1980s mobster. Like I got a ton of that. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Like again, even the extra large in that is not a modern extra large.
No.
Nah. What is it?
So
you guys got any other questions?
So how many? So let's say about this. So I know you said that you rather do the private picks, and you don't just source storage units. Obviously, I actually before I was a reseller, and I knew that what I did was reselling. I used to buy storage units, but this was before the storage wars came out on TV. So like I used to be able to get like a unit for like $25. You know what I'm saying? And then like I came and all of a sudden there was like 40 people at a storage locker unit when there used to be like 5 of us. And it was like a $25 unit was now like $300, $400. So like and now obviously they have it like online and stuff like that, which is just crazy. Do you have like a method and like is there a certain site that you use? Do you do in-person unit sales? And it is something like how frequently do you kind of invest time-wise into looking and searching for storage unit buys?
I mean, it's a great question. And for anybody watching that doesn't know, Tim is so correct. We used to buy storage lockers like before the shows, and of course, none of them were online. Was there an online? I mean,
I never saw it. Only in person. And I only knew it because I had a unit at the time. Like at that time, I used to do I used to do what we called it back in the day in my neighborhood. We called it the Craigslist hustle. So we would go through the free section on Craigslist, and we had a pickup truck, and we would just drive around and we pick up stuff for free, and then we bring it back to our storage unit, we clean it up, and then we'd relist it on Craigslist for a price. And so, we were always at the storage unit, and the people that worked there was like people like walking through the hall one day, and we were like, what is going on? And they're like, oh, we're getting ready to auction off this storage unit. And we were like, wait, what? And so like next thing you know, we would go to all these storage units for auctions. But yeah, there was nothing like that online back then. I mean, this is this is almost probably like 10 plus years ago. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, for me, we're backing up probably 20 years. And the first one I ever went to, my wife worked, she was a medical transcriptionist, and they literally, nobody showed up. So they sent a note out and said, hey, can any of you come to this auction that we've got going? And she called me and I went to it, and it was just me and another guy. So I bought all the cabinets for my wood shop at that time. But back in the day, you could go, one of the first ones that I bought that was a commercial one, a commercial auction, there was a compressor in the front, and I needed a new compressor for my shop. And I thought, I think I got the locker. It seemed like a lot because the compressor was new. I think I paid $75 for it. And now, if there was a new compressor sitting in the front of a locker that's full of stuff, that locker would go for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So here's what we do to answer Tim's question. I don't want to clean up anybody's trash. And when you mill lumber, if the log looks like trash, it's probably trash. And if you're looking at a locker and it looks like trash, it's probably trash. Maybe not. Maybe somebody can go in there and find a sack of gold in the back of it, but I haven't found any sacks of gold. I just found a ton of work. So I pick lockers. Melody and I both look for neat and organized, age if possible, because if I can get one that hadn't been cracked open in 25 or 30 years, I'm already ahead almost no matter what's in there. And we try to buy in quantity so that we have a lot to give away. Our business model is not just set up on pure profit. I'm retired, so I have an income. I like money, but we give away a lot. And so something that allows me to do that is great. But it needs to look neat and organized and like it was put in there intentionally. I would never buy one that's like a manager special or, where they've taken and combined a bunch of different lockers. That stuff's already been gone through. If every box is opened, whether it was done by the previous owner or by management who shouldn't, but they do, they've already picked out the good stuff. I'm not buying that locker. I want undisturbed age and some organization. And then I'm interested in, we can start seeing if we can decipher any of the stuff that's in there.
Do you do any in-person ones or mainly? So you kind of split it between online and in person?
Yeah. My wife doesn't do public anything. So we went more before 2020 than we do now, but I still go to public ones. And so public ones, first thing I'm looking for is let me go on a really bad weather day so that I can clear people out. I don't care if I get wet, but man, Tim's right. There's times you'll go now and 40 is nothing there. If it looks like a good one, it might be 100 deep. And you got people that are buying for fun, and they will spend stupid money expecting to get grandma's gold. And, I don't want to compete with them. It is fun for me, but I also do it with the intention of making a profit at some point. Yeah.
And that's what I was going to ask. How do you come up with like, hey, this is the most I want to spend on it? Like, how do you kind of,
So like on the sweats locker. So real quickly, on some of the boxes, you could see the numbers went up to 200. And looking at it, it was a fair assumption that there were at least a couple of 100 boxes in there. And some of them you could see like 2 dozen written on it, 3 dozen written on it. And I could see that there are sweats everywhere I'm looking. So right away, I'm thinking there's 4,000 to 6,000 pairs of sweats in here. And if I can get that for 50 cents a piece, I'm not going to lose money unless it's really bad. But you could tell from the front of the locker that it wasn't wet because the cardboard at the front wasn't wet at the bottom. So it looked dry. The place that we bought it at was not air conditioned, but it was underneath the manager's apartment, which is air conditioned. And so on 3 sides, it was air conditioned. And of course, it ended up being exactly what we thought it was. But so some of it's like that. I don't guess, but I don't base my price based on just what's sitting in the front. I'm going to try and make an educated assumption to what's behind it. And of course, I'm not risking money that I can't spend either. Yeah. I'm not doing that.
There you go. Leroy.
I have done storage units. Not last year, didn't do any. The year before, I did 3. I usually do about 3 a year. I do want to do a couple this year as well. And like Scott said, what I do is I'll look at the boxes and I will price every box closed. So I'll look at it, I'll say there's 25 boxes. Each box is worth $40 to me. I want to pay $20 for each box, and I take it from there. Um, I don't pay that much a box, but that's sort of, I'll calculate how many boxes I see or how many rows, and then how much am I willing to pay per box. When I look at toolboxes, I do the same thing. I'll look at a toolbox and I'll just say, okay, I want to spend $40 each pull out roll, and that's as far as I can go.
Yep. That for me, I mean, I have done a few storage lockers myself, and it's same thing. Calculated risk. I mean, if you're looking at something that has age, or you can see stuff that okay, I know I can make this much off that, but if you can see it, so can everybody else. So that's a little tougher to do. So you do have to. It is risk reward, but like Scott said, don't give more than what you can afford, and then you also have to think about. One of the pieces of advice I always give to people that are going to do storage units: have a place to get rid of stuff. Because if you buy a unit and it's got mattresses or it's got furniture and you're not going to deal with it, like you need to have a plan B. You need to have some place I can take this stuff to get rid of it, and then the rest of it you can. Like I bought a storage unit that was full of restaurant equipment, but prior to me pulling the trigger, I'd already called around to see who does restaurant equipment auctions. And there was one near me. I literally went to the storage unit. I loaded everything on the back of a U-Haul. I took it to the storage facility locker, and I dropped it off to the auction people. And in 2 weeks, I got paid off all of it. So like that was for me kind of a no-brainer. And in that unit I just sold the other day, which it set for a while, but I actually had a deep well pump that sold for a couple $100 that was a part of that, and it was extra beyond the restaurant equipment. So one piece of equipment paid for the whole locker. Everything else was gravy and hard work because it's heavy. But yeah, have a plan for that thing and how you can get rid of it.
That's exactly right.
Obviously, if you're driving a hatchback, you probably don't need to be driving that in there unless you got a trailer or in the truck. Like you might want to think about a different way to source. Yep. Hey, we're going to jump in and go ahead and get into some reseller hacks real quick. So, Scott, since you're on the screen, could you give us just one quick tip, just a little hack as a reseller? Something that maybe you
No,
No,
I can't.
Oh, I forgot. That was part of the contract. He weren't going to give away.
Remember, that was going to cost twice what I was planning on getting on that. So a reseller hack is get it listed. Like it isn't going to sell if you don't have it listed. So I know that seems like common sense, but it's so easy to get caught up in buying stuff and having stuff but if you don't get it listed, it isn't going to sell, whether that's listed locally or Facebook Marketplace or eBay or Etsy, but you got to let people know you have it for sale. And the sooner you do that, the sooner you get your money back.
There you go. Tim.
So I used to do this long time ago, and I've kind of worked myself into this rat race of a lifestyle as a reseller, and I'm trying to kind of, as most of you know, refocus my energy into organization. But when I was part-time reselling, this is 4 years ago now, almost 5 years ago. I was big into Instagram, and I used to post items 3 times a day on my antique Instagram page. And so I kind of got away from that. But I think it's now that Instagram has kind of evolved, especially with the ability, if you have Instagram, obviously, especially with the ability to actually have links that you can click on in your story in your Instagram. Back in the day, this sounds crazy saying it like this, but back in the day, you couldn't do that. You used to have to just put link in bio, and people would have to go to your bio to click your link and then go to your shop and then shop there. But if you get something brand new, right, there's two ways to go about doing this. If you're just find something and you list it on Instagram, I'm sure this has happened to Cernoch before. People will literally, if you build up a following and stuff like that, and you use the right hashtags, people will literally offer to buy it from you directly, right then and there through Instagram. So it's kind of a neat way to kind of get rid of something without having to go through the whole process of reselling it first. So, and don't necessarily bank on it, but it's like you're planting the seed. There's nothing wrong with planting the seed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're kind of like getting ahead of the game, and you're throwing a dart. You know, if it lands, it lands. If not, it's no big deal. You're still creating some sort of buzz and content around that item. And then secondly, if you get to the point where you're already listing it, as soon as you list it, you know, take your best picture or take a new picture of it, like kind of like propped in a way, and then put a link to it to your eBay store. And if you know, if somebody sees it and they like it, they can literally just click that link and they can buy it. So it's just kind of like another way of getting your items out there. So it's definitely something to consider and keep your eye out on. So hopefully, you know, that little bit of advice might help some people as far as, you know, another avenue of getting marketing, you know, getting your items seen or sold prior to or after listing.
Leroy.
So I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I was looking at my eBay store and I have this that's not listed, and I have this that's not listed, and I already listed it." Inventory your inventory. Take a day where you check your inventory, take 2 bins, and go through it. I know you're not making money off it, guys, but you're wasting money by that stuff sitting there, and you didn't even know it dropped off the face of the earth. You got 1,700 listings. Like, you don't know everything you got. You think you do. You ain't that cool. Trust me. But no, but serious. Like, I hear people say it all the time, and
Yeah.
and I started doing it. And I'll tell you something. I take everything and I got 1 through 2,000 numbers. That doesn't mean how many items I got. And I take a bin a day and I refill those bins up with the numbers that are missing. But I take a half hour and I check the numbers that are in the bin. Do I need to change the prices in an old background? So that means I really dropped the price. Or do I sell it somewhere else? You're wasting, we don't pay for, some of us don't pay, but some people pay per item that we list every month. So you're paying for an item that we list every month. It was a $5 item, and in a year, you're paying them money to take it. So check your inventory, put something aside, every 6 months, or me, it's every day. I take a bin. I got 25 items in a bin. So I only have to check like 10 items if I sold half of them in the bin. Just do that, guys, because it's a hack in my eyes, because I feel like a lot of people can complain about it, but they don't want to, I don't have time to do that. I got 1,700 items. Well, guess what? You got 2,021 items, but you don't know that because you're not checking it.
Tell him, Leroy.
I'm sorry.
I'll do better. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about last episode, our sourcing. Kind of like when you're sourcing, if you're out there, especially like doing like retail arbitrage, and you are comping items, this is what I like to do. If you're comping items, if you decide you're gonna buy that item based on the comp, hit a good comp or a good listing, and just like sell one like this. Make a draft while you're comping, so when you get home, you'll be like, oh, look, I already have a draft right there that I may have to just add pictures, change around some words, maybe change a few item specifics, like especially like with shoes. Even if I see like, oh, this shoe's selling pretty well, I'm gonna pick up these size 13s. We'll say there isn't a size 13 comp or anything like that, or not even listed. Well, I'll take a size 12 or a size 11 and just, all right, sell one like this. And all I got to do is just change a few item specifics. So you already have your listing already kind of up. And so when you get home, say you made like 12 drafts. Well, then you're already ahead of the game, where you're like, all right, cool. I've got 12 drafts. Now let me fire up the pictures and get listing. and you can get it a lot faster than having to do your work over again. Like, okay, yeah, all right, let me comp that again. Let me get a listing again, or because I rarely like to start fresh. Usually I like just to sell one like this or sell similar off of someone else's listing because it's a proven listing. So that I think that's helps a lot too, where it kind of gets you motivated, where it's like instead of coming home and you're like, oh, okay, now let me just start the process. It's already right there started for you, so you can be like, all right, let's dig in right away. All right, I have this item, this item, this item. You can get them all set up and be like, all right, let's list it. So that's my hack.
It's crazy because I take some of all these together. What Leroy was saying earlier. So my daughter and my niece and nephew came the other week, and I got them to help me start going through some inventory. I found a tote and a half of items that were not listed, and we only went through like 3 sections of my shed. A tote and a half. So you may have things that are just hanging out, and they're never going to sell. I hear people say list it and forget it. That you better be careful because I don't know, things magically drop off. Like Cernoch actually informed me that the toy category, they went and changed some item specifics, and if you didn't have those item specifics, they just, hey, you're cut off, hey, you're not on there anymore. Mm-hmm. So be careful about that. For me, when it comes to hacks, there is so many that you can think of, but for me, there's some base level things that you need to think about too as far as reselling. One of the things I will tell you is when it comes to supplies, we talked the other week about all the items you can get for free. It's probably good if you know what you're selling. Like one of the things I did is I actually have several subscription based, like I get bubble wrap consistently, right? Like I don't have to think about ordering it. I've got it set on an auto reship, and it's coming and it's coming and it's coming and it's coming. I get poly bags from Amazon that they just come. Like I don't have to think about, hey, is it coming? Am I going to run short? Because I don't know how many of you have ever done this. I know there's several of us that have run out of like bubble wrap. I know I have, and I made that run to Staples or Office Depot, and buddy, that hurts. I can tell you that hurts bad. The same can be true with printer labels. Bro, printer labels, like I thought they had Benjamins printed on the back of those things that I bought out of one of those places. It was like $45 for like one little stack that I'm like, so go back when you see those videos about free materials. UPS business account is a great way to never run out of labels because those things are massive. There's other things that we have, there's bubble wrap links, there's Amazon links, but you can go check those things out. And for me, the auto subscription thing is great because you don't have to think about it. If you're not auto subscribing, I would just, maybe have some type of inventory system for your supplies. Okay. I know when I get down to box 5, you order. If you're getting free boxes from USPS, you better order ahead because you're not going to get them when you need them. I'm still waiting on number 7s from before Christmas. I'll just tell you. So I haven't got it. I'm down to my last 2, and the post office lady actually gave away my back stock that I had at the post office. So it's one of those things. So that's my tip for that, is make sure you have it. Hey, we got a couple quick questions, and then we're going to get in down to the end of this thing. Let me pull it up real quick, and we'll get into that Q&A. All right. So oftentimes we get this question, and this is probably one of the questions that most people do ask a lot, is how many items do you have in your stores, and what is the sell-through? Do any of you list a certain amount consistently to your stores? Like, do you have a number, essentially? Is there a number that you put on this thing, or do you do something else? Cernoch.
I know this is a hard one. See, I know a lot of people like to talk sell-through rate of your stores. See, me, I I've been doing, and I'm not trying to come off like, hey, I know all this, but I've been doing it long enough to where I know that the items I'm picking up are going to sell eventually. And here's the thing: I'm buying at such a cheap cost that I don't have to be like worried. Oh, it hasn't sold in 2 weeks. What's going on? What's going on? I a lot of times like to set it on the higher price side and just wait. Wait for that. I always say you never know when that person's going to be looking for that specific item. It may take an entire year, but you never know where, some of my high-end jackets that are really rare. This isn't for everybody. It's for that one collector that says, this is the piece I need. Or, like hats, I've got some very expensive, sports specialty hats. I'm not going to give those away. I've gotten $100 offer every 2 weeks from this one guy on Poshmark for my Chicago Blackhawk shark tooth hat that's dead stock, brand new with tags. I know what it's worth. I'm not gonna let it go for $100 because somewhere that person out there is gonna pay $300 for it, and without blinking an eye. So it's like, just hold on, and that's what I say. So the sell through for me, it's not that big of a deal. It's just the money coming through. It's the money's coming back, and it's consistent, and I'll make it, paying the bills and doing all this stuff, and have a little, storing some money away. That's where, I do it. Yes, you can dive in deep in the numbers and all that stuff, but like I said, the way I do it, I've got a lot of kind of, not specialty items, but just stuff that it's gonna take time to sell. The right person has to come along and buy it for that price I want it for. So that's how I kind of do it.
By the way, this question was from Lisa Durr. Just so, Lisa, thanks for the question. Scott?
I lost track. Now, we normally keep around 1,000 items in the store. Our average sale through rate over 90 days is probably between 45 and 50%. Our average sale price is typically, before YouTube, our average sale price was around $60. Right now it's dipped. It's above 40, but it's lower. Part of that is the Annalee dolls. They sell cheaper, but they're so easy, because they're cloth over wire. They're easy to ship. They're easy to picture. And so that's what we kind of aim for. I don't pick up a lot of $15 and $20 stuff. But normally 1,000 items, we're, just like they were saying, we do a lot of it by feel. I know when I'm out whether or not something meets my business model. I can look and see the first hat I ever bought. Keep in mind, our average sale price at the time back then was probably around $40. And I was at a Salvation Army in Duluth, Minnesota. And I knew I could wear a hat. I knew how to put one on, but that was the extent of my knowledge. And I thought, wow, that's cool. That's an old Pepsi hat. Like, it's got foam paint. It's got stripes on the side. It's a snapback. And I was like, and it's brand new. Like, that's really cool. And it was $1. And I thought, I'm going to buy that because I know somebody else is going to think that's cool. And I didn't know anything about hats at that point. That was a good starter hat to get home with. That I was in the parking lot that said something about holy grail item of Pepsi hats. And I was like, oh, I like this. So I think that one was like $380 or something, as fast as I could list it. I did go back in to make sure there wasn't a box of them, because now I have visions of there being a box of new Pepsi hats. But I think
same dream.
Yeah. Sell through rate is important, but I also have, I have a vintage, probably late 1800s ceremonial horse headdress that's hand woven, and it's probably from the Andes somewhere. That's going to sit a while, and I'm okay with that. It's at some point I paid, like you guys, I'm so cheap, but I paid a few dollars for it. It'll eventually bring 100 to 150. And I don't care if it takes 2 weeks or 2 years. but that's what we do. But I am a numbers guy, so we're normally 45 to 50% sell-through rate, around 1,000 items. YouTube has had a dramatic impact in my eBay business because YouTube takes a lot of time, to edit videos and try to grow that. But it gives me an opportunity to feel like I'm teaching again, and I I'm getting something out of it that's not necessarily monetary.
There you go. Tim?
Man, that was the way you just ended that was like, man.
That's right up your alley, right?
I like this guy. I like this guy, because I think that, that's super important too. Obviously, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like doing YouTube because I like to help other people, and I feel like I have information and knowledge, and I have a different ability to transfer that knowledge and information without A, sounding like I'm a know-it-all, B, I'm a douchebag, or C, like if you pick it, you choose it. Like I feel like I can relate to the normal person, and like speak and be real. A lot of people are, they don't want to be real. They want to be nice, and they want to, me. I'm going to tell you how it is. Okay. So, but I feel like people appreciate that anyway. So I appreciate the way that you ended that, with, because YouTube will take away from all that other stuff. And I've always battled that balance. And I kind of took a step away from YouTube because I had to make money, and I wasn't making money on YouTube. And unfortunately, in the real world, you have to make money. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't want to hear it when they're, that's how it is. So, but as far as, the store and stuff like that, like, there's no number, okay? Like, I mean, we'll tell you this, guys, over and over again. Like, anybody who tells you need to have this amount of listings in your store, and you need to have this amount of a sell-through rate, and you need to have this amount of a profit, I mean, all of that is horse crap, okay? There's no magical number, all right? The only thing you have to do is list, okay? Buy smart and list. Buy low and sell high, unless you're Leroy, of course. Leroy has his own motto that works for him. And shout out to Leroy, I love you, buddy. But yeah, that's it. I mean, it sounds crazy to be that simple, but it really is that simple. Like, and I'm just like Cernoch and Scott in the sense where I have a ton of stuff that I buy that I know is going to take a very unique buyer, and I know it's going to take a long time, but I know the value of it. Like, I have a teapot right now that's been probably I've had for a long time. And I have some people that have inquired about it, and, there's some people that watch it, but it's one of the rarest teapots out there. It's a Royal Dalton teapot there's been none known in existence of that are on record of sale, whether, eBay, live auction, anything like that. Like, it's that rare. So, like, I have it up for like $500 right now. Like, I mean, I could, if you catch me on a bad day, I might crack for like 350. In case anybody's watching right now is interested. But you have to. I think there has to be a nice balance of stuff.
So today, if you send an offer today,
you might get lucky. No, I think it's important to have a balance, and I learned this selling at flea markets. And that balance is, if you bring all your high dollar stuff to the flea market, if there's nobody shopping high dollar items, you're not going to make any money, even though you have all of those high dollar items. So you have to have a variety price. I think it's important to have a variety of options. It just makes your store look a little bit better. So, like, I typically also I won't mind selling something that'll sell for $15 or $20 if I get it like in a lot of stuff, or if I get it for, less than $1 or $1. Like, I don't mind that if it's easy to list and ship, because I calculate time and work into my monetary profits, obviously, too. So I think that it's, important to have some stuff that will move constantly. And I think that's important about trending too, like that we talk about here in every episode. It's not necessarily about being trendy. It's about taking advantage of those momentary fluxes in the market that will benefit you as a small business. So I just think it's important you just have to do it, man. That's all there is to it. And it's not easy, and none of us do it perfectly all the time, every time. That's facts. Like, sometimes life hits you and it kicks your ass and you're sitting here and you don't want to do anything, but eventually you have to find some way to make it work. So that's my advice, as always, is just adapt, just do it. Find what works best for you. Don't feel the pressures of what people are telling you is the only way, and the yellow brick road to reselling, because even the yellow brick road has a few cracks in it. Okay, so that's my advice for today.
100%.
Leroy, come
You're
on.
muted, buddy. Of course.
So to the question, it was, how many things are in your store and sell through rate. And for me, I'm always straight up. Like I have 700 items in my store. I got 500 sell through. My average sale is 300, but I will sell $10, $5 things all day long. Like I buy Felicia. Like I don't care. Like it doesn't bother me. So that's why my sell-through rate is a little low. But guys, you got to realize this is if you can look it up on eBay, it will sell. If you can find it, even if you can't find it, but if you can find it, it will sell. If you comp it out and you see that this glass with half peanuts is empty, if there's one selling the same glass, same texture, and they sold it for $3, guess what? You could sell yours for $3. Like that's how I look at it. I don't look at their sell-through rate. For me, as long as I can find it. As long as I can find it, then I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm like those guys. I'll buy box lots of stuff for $5. And I do, clean outs too. So I'll get stuff for free. And if I don't know about it, but I look it up and I can find it, and 3 of them sold in the last month for $5, I'm not gonna get $5 right at the flea market. I'm gonna sell for $5. Whatever. Like that's just how I work.
Can I jump in there, Leroy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
These right here, it's a dust mop pad. So I think this fits in with what you're saying so perfectly well. My average sale price is $40 to $60, except I get I clear $1 a piece on these. So I'm charging like $6.99 plus shipping. But we bought a trailer load of these 7 years ago for $20.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've had 3,000 sales now of these, where I'm clearing 5, because there's 5 in a bag, where I'm clearing $5 each. Is it an exciting sale when it goes off? No. I'm going to make $5 every day for 7 years. And I'm halfway through them. So I love the big flip. I think Leroy's dead on. Leroy, by the way, Leroy, I didn't know you at the time, but I picked up a box of vintage aviation tools that was just sick as far as profit goes. But this, honestly, think about if you could just have a whole store of stuff like this that takes you 30 seconds to ship.
Yeah.
Passive income at this point. If I could sell, 100 items a day like that, I'd be making $500 a day. And, anyway, I thought you had a really
take
good
$500 a day any day of the week.
Right?
But Scott, what is your so you sell, you said 1 or 2 of those a day?
No, not every day. I would say we probably sell 3 or 4 a week. I sell a lot more in the spring. I sell a lot of them to Canadians. Like whatever they're saying about Canada being super clean, I know they don't have any dust because I've sent so many of these to Canada. It's not even funny. And they're paying international shipping on that. But anyway, so it's just over the course of 7 years, I still sell them all the time.
I have a quick question for you. So, where are your competitors? Where are you priced compared to your competitors?
There are no competitors. So what happened is this company right here went out of business. Their warehouse was in Dallas. I'm about an hour and 15 minutes from Dallas.
Oh,
I
yeah.
also buy business liquidations,
There you
not
go.
not like bulk.com and that kind of junk, but actual business liquidations. And there was one called Jesco, which had this company. They also own the knife company. Like, remember, you used to walk through the mall and there'd be some guy in a kiosk cutting a hammer in half with a knife and then a tomato. That was Jesco. And so when that company went out of business, I bought all of the remaining stock. So there aren't people with this. So I have the only one. And so I originally put them out there and just priced them to where they start selling, because I don't want them forever, but it's, business liquidations are another really, really good way to get. We picked up a lot of passive inventory because there was also some magic cloth mops in there that I had all the remaining stock in the world, and I just happened to have sold out of all of those. It took me about 3 years, but again, that was $20 for a trailer load of those things. So I'm not against, I just thought it was a really good point. Is I love, like, gosh, if I could just do, I mean, how easy are fishing reels? Like, I mean, if you could just have a bunch of high-end fishing reels that you got somewhere cheap. But
Yeah.
I'm not against mop pads. I'm not against any of it. Like any of y'all ever go to the bins?
Yeah.
The good
Yeah.
bins? So I'm at the bins one day and they wheel out this thing, and it's full of bras, but they're like 1940s, 1950s bullet bras with tags. And I'm like, I don't know anything about bras. I mean, I've only had like one wife and like not many girlfriends before that. Like, I don't know anything. But I thought these have price tags on them that are way old.
So wait, are they bulletproof?
No.
Bullet bras.
Bullet.
Oh, is that the
Like-
company or its style?
No, it's a style. It's a style.
Pointy, the pointy ones.
So anyway,
Like
I picked
Madonna.
I had about 100 of them that day, and they sold for $50 to $100 a piece. Like, weird. Nobody else wanted them. They just like, oh, let that little fat guy get them all. Like, oh, I don't care what they think, but I'm opportunistic and willing to learn, because I think isn't that, y'all all work for yourselves, right? Doing this, isn't that one of the best things? Is that you get an opportunity, and how cheap an education is this? All 50 of those bras at the bins didn't cost me $15, $20, and for $20, I go home and I learn some real true information. And there's people that collect these and all this whole world I would have never. Some of it I probably didn't want to be exposed to, but I still learned a ton of information that I wouldn't have had. The same way with the Pepsi hat, that up until that point, and man, after that I bought every hat. Like, I was like,
I will tell you this one thing that I learned, because obviously, like, all of us learned about hats through Cernoch, and it was quite possibly the most like addicting reselling thing outside of uranium glass. I think hats, it's just a fascination behind it, and like learning about the different levels of collectability and value. And then one of the most important things I think Cernoch has ever told us, that it really applies to anything that you sell, is finding out the story behind the hat. And it's like, applying that to everything that you find it's actually kind of rewarding. I'm an information junkie, so like I'm a sponge for all that stuff. So that is totally spot on. Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm probably gonna Google bullet bra once I get
it's
today.
Out of the sweats locker, there was some women's polo style shirts, but they had the 1970s collar, and I've sold a few of them. They're $20 to $25. But inside one of them, the lady, there was the inspected by Ethel McClendon, and I knew where the mill was because I had the receipt from the company. And so I put it out there. I've actually done the research on this lady. She didn't have any of her own kids. I mean, like, I went down the rabbit hole, but I love that part of what we do so much. For me, I guess I'll wrap that part up with, for anybody watching it who's new and they want to do this, if you don't love that part of it, if you don't love, like, if you're not interested in a box or bras, like, I mean, literally, I didn't know anything, but you presented me with this opportunity. And I think all of you, if you were standing there, I'm telling you, you would have picked them up because you would have been like, the tags are too cool. Like, I'm looking at that tag and I know that that's old, and somebody's going to want a 48J bullet bra. And it turns out like they're highly collectible. And I learned about this whole thing. And if you don't love that, this job, I think this job would suck.
Yeah.
Like, it would just be a lot of work.
Yeah. No, Scott, you're totally right, because, and I'm gonna kind of bridge off of what you're saying. Like, you know, like with those bras, you get to, and I find this every day. You build your knowledge base. You just keep building it, because here's the thing, Scott, you may not come across that ever again, but say
Right.
you do, you're now gonna know. Oh yeah, like say you're just walking through a thrift shop and you see a couple hanging. Well, you're gonna be like, hey, I know enough about this now. If they're $2 a piece, I'm picking them up now because I know what happened when I found all the other ones. So yeah, you're definitely building. You know, like I always say, every day I'm learning. You know, you should. That's as a reseller, you should be learning every single day about a new, you know, a new niche or a new or just something deeper into what you know. I like right now I'm on this big boot trend, so I'm watching cobblers redo boots and this and that. I mean, everything down to the like jackets, old military jackets, everything down to the DSA number, the zipper, you know, all those things, to where a normal, a beginning reseller may be like, oh, cool, that's an Army jacket. Well, I can be like, no, that's a 1940 M65, you know, with a Scoville zipper, you know, like that was made in so-and-so Iowa, you know, all those things.
Cernoch, did you see the Mitchell jacket that I found?
Yes. Yeah.
Once in a lifetime find.
Insane. Yeah. And it's those things where, like, you know, a lot of people, I think, if you just don't, like, if you don't have that knowledge base, or you're not always learning, you may be somewhere and a $500 item, it may be staring you right in the face. But if you don't have that knowledge, you're just going to walk right past it, you know? So, yeah, definitely.
100%.
So for all of you guys out there, when you see guys pulling bras out of the thrift store, you know those guys aren't crazy. Like, you know what it is? And I've said this
Well,
often.
they might be.
Learners are earners, right?
Indeed.
Learners are earners, buddy.
I'll
Because I tell you, the more you know,
Yeah.
the more you know.
I'll tell you,
the better
one
you know.
time when I remember watching Tracy and Lisa did a show on women's jeans. And so I immediately went to a thrift store. And I spent about an hour, because at my thrift stores, the women's clothes are like outnumber the men's clothes by like 50 to 1. So like I spent an hour in the women's jeans section, and I swear to God, it was like every 5 minutes somebody was like, I would look up and there's people just staring at me like, why is this guy in the women's jeans section for an hour? Because like I had just learned all that information from Tracy and him, so I'm like going through women's jeans for like an hour, and like it was very awkward at that moment. You know, like some people they don't know, so like they're kind of looking at you like, this guy is definitely. And I mean, I don't look like the most normal guy to begin with, so I mean, I can understand why people are probably looking at me like, this guy is pretty weird. So yeah, but don't be afraid. You know, dig through women's clothes. It's fun.
There you go. As long as you weren't using, your patented, you got to use all your senses.
Yeah,
to go out there and
no.
pick it. You start doing that, and you're in the women's section, you're probably going to have some problems. But like, otherwise, you can stick to it.
Ow, that hurts my back.
Yes, so many of these guys have already given the same answer. I'm just going to go ahead and just blurt out my little bit. But I think it's far less about number of items and sell through than it is about, like, consistently putting things in the in the form, like if you're a factory, like you got to consistently have something coming down the line, and that's what it is. Because sell through is going to vary by what you sell. If you're an everything seller, you're probably going to have a lower sell through. We know Leroy's motto is buy low, buy low and let it go. As a result, his sell through is higher. So we've talked before about TPP, right? Title, price, and picture. And those can vastly change your sell through rate on items as well. I have, and I still have currently, because I bought a bunch of new old stock boat parts, ATV parts. I bought some appliance parts. I bought some lawnmower parts. So those parts don't sell through that fast, but I sell parts consistently over and over and over again. It's kind of like the dust mop, right? Like I've got all these parts. They're there. All they're waiting for is that guy with that 1978 Johnson Evinrude 50cc motor that needs a seal. Like I'm the guy, okay? But there's not that many 1978 Johnson Evinrude motors out there anymore. So like it's one of those things you have to look at what is in your store. And if you are a beginner, I would encourage you learn more things. The more you put in there, the more you get out. But then the other side of it is where the sell-through matters probably more so is on the buy, right? Like if you're looking and you're a beginner and okay, I can only buy 10 items this week. That's what I'm going to do is buy 10 items this week. That's all I can afford maybe. Or maybe that's all you got time to list or whatever that looks like. But then it's easy to go in and look at when you use the app and you hit the button and you say, okay, there's this many, like this particular hat. Okay, so I've got that Pepsi 3-stripe hat, and you look it up and you say Pepsi 3-stripe hat, and they're going to pull up the listings, and down at the bottom it's going to say there's however many listed. Say there's 10 listed. Okay, and then you pull up that sell through and it says, wait, there's 10 listed and there's 100 sold in the past 90 days, right? Buy it. Don't even think about it. Just buy it. Like, that's a sell. More than likely, like Scott said, it'll sell before you put the phone down if you price it. And if you're underpriced, it's really going to sell probably before you can do that. But then if you go in and you find, okay, I hate to pick on my guy, Kevin Commonwealth Picker. If you go in there and say, hey, I found this autumn colored Tupperware lid, and because Kevin's a pretty popular guy, and he talks a lot about Tupperware. In fact, everybody shouts him out for Tupperware. I've been with Kevin. I know his knowledge base is far deeper than that. But I can tell you, if you look up that vintage autumn Tupperware lid, you're probably going to find about 500 of them jokers on there, right, listed. And there might be 35 that sold this month. So like you kind of need to think about that when you're out there buying. So like that sell-through number to me means far more than I sold this many through the store, because it depends on what's in your store. In my store, I know I've probably got 500 or 600 items that are in that category of you got to have the right buyer at the right time. On the other hand, there's a lot of things that turn and burn, that I'm rolling through. So for me, there's no particular number that I try to list every day. I will say, and this isn't just my advice, but other people's, for me, it's more about dollars than it is about items. Because if you list 50 $10 items, that's still $500. If I list $500 items, that's $500, right? So like you got to think about that number as well. So it's not necessarily if I list 20 a day. Well, if you list 20 dogs a day, like you're still not going to get 20 sales a day. But if you list 20 items that sell through, then you're going to get that. So that's my 2 cents about that question. We are going to, I got one more quick one, and this is one of those hards to answer to. Pincho Thrift asks one question: what's y'all's daily schedule? That's going to be a fun question, I'll just tell you, because a daily schedule is something I left at that job. Like,
Yep.
I was like, Leroy, we know he's got a routine there.
I wake up in the morning, I get my water, I list, I ship, I go home. No time schedule.
Yeah, there you go. Tim.
All right. So this is a loaded question for a guy like me. Okay, so I'm actually trying to push myself to a schedule and abide by a schedule. Um, for those of you that watch the show, know that one of my main things that I'm trying to improve on this year is organization, utilization of my time, and really, which is a process because there's a lot of things that it's like tying up loose ends that I have to do. So like I've been working on these projects on all these sports cards because it's a loose end and I'm trying to clip it and be so that I can just utilize my time better. So I do think that it's important to have some sort of a schedule, not just for yourself but obviously for the people that you live with, and for me it's a little bit difficult because right now I have so many things going on and I can do all these things, but in order to be successful at doing these things, I need to figure other stuff out. And obviously, you guys know, like, all my stuff is not where I live. So it has made things very difficult for me, right now, especially because I basically have to travel to another state in order to, you know what I'm saying, take care of business. So every day is different for me, So, like, I generally, like, so if I have a whatnots on a day, like I wake up, I prep for my whatnot, stuff like that. But and then if I have to ship, then I wake up and I try to put everything together so that it makes sense. So like if I have all these my orders from eBay, Etsy, and all the other platforms, I'll do a whatnot show the day before I have to go pack all that stuff. So that way I can get all my packing done in one trip. But like generally, like to kind of generalize it, I'll leave DC and I'll drive to Maryland and I'll go to the storage unit. I'll pick up the orders. I'll go to, my mom's house where I have my shipping station set up. I'll do the packing. I'll go to the post office and then I'll come back to DC. And I try to do all that obviously before rush hour traffic or after rush hour traffic, but it doesn't work out that way sometimes. This morning took me an hour instead of like a normal 25 to 30-minute drive. But obviously you have to work with what you have, and so your schedule might change depending upon your days, the amount of stuff that you have to ship. Ideally, I want to get to the point where I have everything at home so that I can, I can I can pack as the orders come in. I found that a lot of times, most of my time is spent packing. So like it takes away from my listing and the travel, which takes away from my listing. And as we talked about earlier, in order for you to make money, you need to list. So it's like trying to manage time can be very difficult, and it's a mental thing more than anything. I think obviously it's a physical thing too, because you get tired, but it's a mental thing more than others. And I think that if you're organized, it allows you to utilize your time better. And I think that's my main thing that I'm trying to focus on right now. And then then I have all my other projects. So on Tuesdays, we do listing and loafing, and then we record this show. And then as soon as we're done recording this show, I have to prep for my other podcast, my football show. And I have that football show that goes on at 7:00. So Tuesdays, I'm literally in front of a camera from like 9 in the morning till 9 at night. And in between then I have to do, shipping and stuff like that. So it's crazy. Like I'm different. Don't listen to anything I say when it comes to like time and stuff like that. Because to be perfectly honest with you, I do more things than most people do in a week in a 2-day span. And I mean, that's just my personality. I'm like this. So, but I do think it's important to try your best to have a schedule. Don't do a schedule because somebody told you to do a schedule. Don't do a schedule based upon somebody else's schedule. Work within your own parameters. Try and figure out the best way to make yourself successful. I always think about that movie. I think it's a Michael Keaton in the McDonald's movie, where there's this, I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but there's a scene in that movie
Founder.
where they're going over like the stage of the building of the restaurant, the McDonald's or whatever. And what they're doing is they're trying to figure out the best possible pathway for everything to be built to try and manage the time, because they figured that the quicker the time, the whole idea of fast food and the money and everything kind of worked out that way. So I kind of always try to think about that, like laying my day out that way. Like, what's the most reasonable way to go about doing everything I have to do to save as much time as possible, to make as much time as possible, which is why I always route out our yard sales when we go on these giant picks, because I want to try and go to as many as physically possible within a time span, because that's how we get the gold and that's how we make the money. So yeah, that's my advice. I know that was all over the place as far as the schedule goes, but that's my life. Literally, it's a jumbled mess when it comes to that sort of situation.
Rubber ball in a solid room.
There you go. I think anybody wondering about a schedule, we don't have a schedule. We have a routine. One of the dangers in this job is that you have the illusion of free time. Nobody is telling you you've got to get something done. If you want to run, get something to eat at 11 instead of 1, nobody cares. I've got a tank in my backyard. Sometimes at lunch, I go fishing for half an hour or an hour. But you don't actually have free time. When you work for yourself, you're going to work a ton of hours. You can kind of work them when you want. There are other things like my post office closes at 11 a.m. So
Holy
I ship,
smokes.
except Saturdays, it closes at 9 a.m.
Wait, what time do they open?
They open at 7:30 on Saturdays. So like I have some other constraints to my time. Hey, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever. I'm there.
No, it's cool. It's I'd never heard anything like that. That would be like a that's it's interesting because it talks about how one of the biggest things we talk about here is that like everybody's situation is different. And I think some people
Totally
don't
different.
remember that. And I think that's an amazing example of that. Like that's wow.
They have literally given me the key to open the post office when they knew they weren't going to be able to be there because of the weather. So it's a little town.
Yeah.
So, but my routine is I get up in the morning and I check for messages. I ship first thing in the morning and I get everything boxed up, ready to go to the post office. Normally, I'll make Melody breakfast and then we run to town. It's 30 minutes to Walmart and 30 minutes back. And if we go to town, we'll go. She will do most of the listing now, but we aren't. It's a different situation. Every situation is different. I have a retirement income. I still have to make money because we take care of my in-laws. We got a lot of other people dependent on us. Mm-hmm. But I have a floor to my income. And so I try to tell people that, people are like, I'm going to quit my job and do what you do, like, well, yeah, I get it that you saw I sold a football pennant for $500, but I just sold one and that's not a week's worth of income. Don't quit your job until you can't afford to go anymore. But you have an illusion of free time because this job takes a lot of work if it's going to provide a full-time income. Mm-hmm. And the people that you watch online, I know from personal experience, every single one of these guys that's putting together this podcast or one of these other things, they're not making enough to make up for what they could have made. If they were just listing, they're going to make way more than what they're going to get. And, I'm blessed that my channel's monetized. I'm making a little bit, but it doesn't cover anywhere near the time. I'm so slow at editing. It takes me 10 hours to get a video out. And I'm making a little bit, but I'd starve to death if I was depending on YouTube. So a routine is probably more important than a schedule for me. Like I have things I have to do in order to ship on time. I got to have that done in the morning. But we might be listing, if her parents had doctor's appointments or something like that, we might be listing at 10 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. But consistent is more important than timely. Like I'm going to list every day. Every day we're going to list something every day. And we're going to ship every day. And we're going to, sourcing is like, I get so many calls to come look at stuff that I don't really have to source anymore. But, and you got to love it. Like the whole process. Like I don't know who's watching this. Knowing Eric, there's probably like 4 people that watch this, but what I'm saying is that like out of those 4 people, if you watch these other people, they all love this. You'll mention something and they're super excited about that thing. And if they're not, this would be like the worst job. And you would have to have a schedule just so you didn't, quit or go starve. So, but I don't know. I didn't really answer the question either. That bird walked all over it.
High five. High five.
Yeah,
So,
I like what Scott said. It's more of a routine for me. I wake up and you wake up and you think about reselling. I check my phone. Send out offers and do all that stuff. What I try to do is every day I try to move my business forward. Okay, so if I'm buying, if I'm listing, if I'm taking pictures, if I'm organizing, it's just something to do, something that's moving the business forward for me. I mean, I've got someone coming over tonight that's going to shop, so it's like, it's always, kind of handling that stuff. Like I said, I do not have a schedule. I will not make a schedule because if I make a schedule, 5 things are going to pop up that I've got to go deal with, so it's like, you know what? Like Scott said, sometimes last night I was listing at 11 p.m. last night. So it's finding those different avenues, moving your business forward. I think that's important. And like everyone said, consistency, just being consistent, being, listing, doing something with your business. That's when you're going to be successful. So.
I think like I said in the beginning, as far as a schedule, like I've got a time clock in my shed, and I go punch in at whatever and punch out at this point. Like that's never been the case. I mean, part of the reason why you work for yourself is so you have your own schedule. That being said, you work for yourself, so if this is your sole income, I'm fortunate enough. I do have some other income that comes in, but when it comes to this, it's your business. So, like, if you think about it from that perspective, like if I had an employee that worked like me, I'd probably fire that guy sometimes. But, like, it's one of those things because there is times. But the other side of it, like for me, there's certain things I have set up in my business, and there's other things like Tim I'm trying to organize to get better at doing. The whole idea, like for me, of creating a workflow, which is what Tim was talking about with like McDonald's and founders, is having a workflow, to where, okay, there are some routine things. We know we've got to answer messages when they come in on eBay. We know whether you do that 1 time a day or 10 times a day, or when things come in, there are certain, honestly, for most of us, when we get that message sound and not the cha-ching sound followed by the message sound, there's honestly a little bit of dread that happens. It's like, oh, now what now? Like, that kind of thing. But you go in and you handle it in a timely fashion. It's your business, like you got to take care of business. When it comes to listing and having a certain number that I list every day, no. There's other things I put in place in my own business because it fits my circumstance. I have things here differently. My wife does not drive. She's disabled when it comes to that. I have elderly parents that we live in the same household. So like there's things that I have to take care of at times, and I'm not able to punch a schedule and say, okay, today I'm going to get up at 7 a.m. and I'm going to list 25 items, and I'm going to, I have done a couple things in my own business that's kind of a fail safe. A lot of times I'll list and then ship because I've got to ship. And if I make listing a priority, like, and do that before I ship, then it kind of is like a little mental thing. Like, hey, you got to get your listing done so that you can get these items out of here. That's just a little mental shift. One of the things, like I've talked about, I've tried to be a little bit better at. Like today, I staged some items in here that where when I came in for listing and loafing, I could just, okay, I've got this. I'm listing this tote today. That's what I'm working on. And once I get that done, I feel like, it's a sense of accomplishment. The other thing I've done is I've actually changed my handling time a little bit to where if I needed to, I could just ship 3 days a week. That's just something I've done to give myself a little cushion, because you never know, something could come up and I couldn't get things out that day. So that's something I've done for my business. If I have opportunity and everything's going smoothly, I ship every day too. Like, I mean, even though I've got the cushion there, I just ship every day. If there's a reason, like, I'm actually taking some kids from our church off on a retreat next week. And so for me, I can take that time off. I don't have to call anybody and say, hey, can somebody cover my schedule? One of the things I'm helping with that idea, and even today, I put a few items in draft, and I'm going to try to put enough items in draft so when I'm gone, I can take 5 minutes and still list items while I'm off. I don't know whether that works or not. Honestly, when it comes to these algorithms, YouTube, eBay, all these kind of algorithms, this word that we all hear that really it's almost like this mystical science, like no one really knows the truth of it all. But we try to throw things in there and try to figure it out. For me, I've got my buddy Old School Picker. He talked to me that was something that he's going to start doing. He built a draft bank and he's dropping some every day. He said his sales have been more consistent doing that than listing a bunch and then not. Then you got Rachel Strickland, who did a listing marathon, 100 and some items, and was selling the mess out of stuff without listing anything. So, we don't know. The bottom line is if we knew exactly how the algorithm worked, we just quit reselling and tell everybody else how to do it, right? And charge them $19.95 per minute on the phone. Like we do something like that. But that's the thing when we look at this thing, how you run your business. I just think of it in terms of it's your business, so you need to treat it like a business. But then the other side of it is your business. So if I need to take some time and do something, hey, it's me. I work for myself. Clear it with the boss. That's you. Like Scott said too. Like the other thing is sometimes we think we've got more time than we do, and if you're not careful, you can hit some rabbit holes. We all do it. Get sucked into something. That's why for us it's kind of weird with listing and loafing. I know myself. I get sucked into chat sometimes with other people, but there's times in our show to where they're like, hey, nobody's talking. That's because we're working. Like we're actually listing at times and working, and then we're chatting at times, and a lot of times I can do both. Like today, I got up a decent amount of listings, and I think I talked to everybody in chat at some point. I had to pack this very difficult pack today, but there's things like that. But a normal routine for me is something I work towards. It's not always the same every day, though. I do the same things, but just not particularly at the same time or the same. So, and work that out. Like Scott said, with your spouse or whoever else is involved in your life. If you're just working nonstop and not taking time to enjoy, then why work for yourself? If you're going to do that, you might as well do something else. So that's what I got. And that's actually all the questions we have. But I do encourage you guys to continue doing that. And I'm going to go ahead and start our round of goodbyes. But I do thank each and every one of you guys for being here. I really want to thank Scott so much for agreeing to come and being a part of this. We are going to be putting his links all down below this thing. So if you have not checked out TheChaChingKing, he is in line with us as far as he loves to teach, and he has a lot of great information on his channel. And I did want to say congrats, Scott, on the 15K subs on your channel. I just saw that pop up this week. So, man, that's a great accomplishment in itself. And we do appreciate you and what you do and what you provide for the community. So we're going to give everybody else a chance to say goodbye. We'll start with you, Scott.
I really appreciate you guys inviting me on. I know that I probably didn't. I've met a couple of you, but I really I feel like I'm getting to sit at the popular table. And it wasn't a trick. Y'all didn't invite me, and it was some kind of weird intervention or something. No, I do appreciate it, and I have watched the show, and I love that. You guys make it really obvious that you're not hurting anybody by helping other people get ahead. I tell people all the time is that I have never fallen up behind by helping somebody else get ahead, and the information flows freely on here. And that there's going to be somebody that tunes in that what they need more than a brand name or a schedule or a routine is they need some hope that, man, there's something I could do that might bridge the gap between where I'm at and where I need to be. And you guys provide that, and you let me be a part of it today. And I genuinely appreciate it. If anybody hasn't been on my YouTube channel, I do a lot of tutorials. I do some sourcing videos and things like that, but it's primarily me teaching people how to use the platform. My Instagram is different. That's just me being stupid. I share the stuff I find and sell, and more jokes probably than I should. So that's it. I really appreciate you guys letting me play.
No problem. Cernoch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Scott. I love it when we have guests on because, again, you're always learning something new. You get to see other people's processes and experiences. So thank you so much, Scott. You got a really cool channel going on. Keep it up. I love all the vintage. Like when I was watching the vintage stuff, Eric and I were watching the vintage stuff. Like the like all the boxes, my jaw just hit the ground. Like it was so unbelievable seeing someone find those things and be able to record it like you did and explain it like you did. So very, very cool. And yeah, everyone watching, thank you so much for the support, the comments, the questions. Like I said, we're gonna be here. We ain't going nowhere. Okay, we're bad boys for life. So all right.
Leroy.
Yes, I want to thank Scott. Scott, thank you very much for coming and hanging out with us. And if any of your subscribers are here to follow you over here to see you on the show, thank you for coming and checking us out and supporting Scott. I just want to tell everybody, hope everybody has a good week. If you see any tools, don't be a knucklehead, pick them up. Check the price, but just look at them, guys. I mean, I sell mainly tools, and I'm still eating all day, so that means I'm supporting myself. So I'm supporting myself. And Tim, buddy, you hang in there. Everybody in the panel, you guys take care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has actually been a really awesome show, awesome episode, well needed for myself. It was a rough day. It's been a rough week, rough month, rough year. My trial period for 2023 is slowly running out. I got about 6 or 7 days left of my trial period before I have to either
Opt out.
accept 2023 or opt out. So, but no, this has been pretty awesome. I think having Scott on was really good too because you can see a lot of linear, goals as far as helping people. And I think that's what's super important here, what we do at the Reseller Information Network. I'd love to see all the comments and the activity on the videos, whether they're the pre-recorded ones or they're these episodes that are coming out. It's definitely important for us to have a gauge and a meter of what people are talking about and what is in need for resellers right now within the community. So that's definitely super important. I want to thank you guys, as always, for all the love and all the support. It does mean a lot to us as we continue to trek through this wild ride of reselling for a living and helping others along the way, which is what is most important to each one of us. Obviously, outside of paying our bills, because if we don't do that, we can't help you guys. But we definitely appreciate everything. Don't forget, I say this every episode. Don't forget to continue with those questions. Give us the push to help you as best as we possibly can. And as always, don't forget to tell a friend about RIN Reseller Information Network.